Today, in January 24, episode 76, I had the pleasure of having Ashkan Alaie on the podcast, the founder and CEO of Proper Dirty Clothing. We talked about what it takes to be a fashion designer in Vancouver in particular, and what it really means to put yourself out there. It was one of the most inspiring talks I've had, just to see someone so dedicated and disciplined to their craft. Ashkan talked about going far and beyond what it takes to put a clothing line out and really venturing into different spaces that one would not ever go into when putting out a clothing line. And it's something that was very inspiring to hear, and the lengths that Ashkan took to really put the whole vision together and really put everything into the collection. So stay tuned. It was one of the most fascinating talks I've had, and it was truly a pleasure to have him on. So episode 76, Ashkan Alaie, the founder and the man behind Proper Dirty. Everything you do, it's very calculated, right?
I have to be, yeah.
With, just the design, how long you take to have it drop. It's all very calculated, and there's a lot of inspiration in it. What's that process like? Because how artists with rappers and singers and all that, they build a project, an album based on how they're feeling and what they're going through during that time, and it's expressive to what they're experiencing during that time in their life. Is that sort of like the process you go through for each drop?
I used to. I think it kind of is, but it's not fully that what I'm experiencing at the time. I think what it is, I think of every collection especially now, like a movie. This is how I make a collection. Is I think of a scene or a literal a story, and I see the scenes in my mind, and I'm looking at let's just say running in the rain is that scene. And I'm thinking what is the music in this scene? And what is the guy wearing? How is it looking in that scene? In the next scene, he's in his house now and he's in an argument with his wife. What is he this is the next day. You know what I mean?
Right.
What is he wearing now? Again, what is that dialogue? And I kind of thread together this whole movie in my mind. And the clothes insert themselves into the movie afterwards. So every collection, a lot of people don't see this part, but every collection has a collection deck, and in that deck there's a screenplay that I write. There's a collection story, there's a collection details, and there's a literal screenplay of the dialogue of the characters in the story. Right?
That's how much it means to you, right?
Means.
It's not just about making threads, connecting threads, figuring out the fabric, and putting something out. It goes way deeper than that.
Yeah, and I think that lost itself, I think maybe towards that time that we last spoke.
I remember that because you did post something saying, I'm gonna take a little bit of time off.
Yeah.
I want to go to a different direction. This isn't kind of my inspiration. You just completely did a detour on the
trajectory of where the brand was
where you were going. What was that about?
So what happened was, when COVID happened, essentially, as we just said, events stopped themselves and production was hindered, and when a collection isn't able to be formed fully, so when you're not able to tell a story and fully encompass what you're trying to say, everyone had to pivot. So did I, right? So what the business model and what my plans with Proper Dirty were at the time of COVID was just doing drops, just releasing products for the sake of releasing products and for making money. At the time that we met, and I didn't have the capacity to put out a collection, because how am I able to, let's say shoot a campaign when 3 people can't even be in the same room? All these limitations made it so difficult for me to make a lot of pieces and to tell a full story, because I think to be able to tell a story, you need more than 3 pieces. You know, you need like,
right.
for me, you know.
And sorry to interrupt you, but the difference between a collection and a drop is 2 or 3 pieces, and a collection's like, is there a difference?
Not necessarily. A drop can be, I think, for example, I'll give you an example. My current collection is called Lavish Hippie.
Yeah.
It's for spring, summer of this year, 2024. I just did a drop, the first drop from Lavish Hippie, which is technically the spring portion of the collection. But the full collection is 26 pieces. This drop was 13. So it was just a spring drop of Lavish Hippie. You know what I'm saying?
Okay.
But at that time, it was just February drop. I in my mind, I was like, this is what happened. So 2021, I was like, I'm going to do a drop every month.
Right.
No matter what, whether it's one thing or 5 things, I just want to drop one thing every single month. So at the end of the year, I want to have 12 new releases, right? And I had only planned for like 3 months in advance. So like in January, I was like, okay, I think it was like, like it was like a rug, and then I had flip-flops, and I had a shirt, and that's all I had. And then so that gave me time to then make the other months, another month. So the biggest thing that I did for that year was like 6 pieces for summer, and I called it a collection, but it was called Salty Lips, and it was just for summer, right?
And this is without the whole screenplay and the production of the other side. Yeah.
Yeah. This was just, that year I was like, I just want to see what I can do by being consistent and just doing like direct to consumer, just like drops after drops, and just keeping this ball kind of rolling, you know?
Right.
So there was no storytelling almost. There's zero. And I quickly realized that that's what I don't want to do. I don't find joy in it, you know? I'm not in it for the money. I never was really. I obviously everyone wants to make money, but you know, if I'm not able to express the story, I'm not happy. Deep down, you realize these things as you go through it.
Right. And at the end of the day, you're a creative, man. Just, you know, putting out drops, it's very creative in itself. But you're more than that. You want to do, you know, screenplay. You want to do different. You want to tell a story, like you said. Like you want to. You want to host events where people come and like see who you are, right? Like the person behind the whole name.
Yes.
Right.
And interact with the clothes and see what I'm talking about, because it's so hard to. You see like pieces online, and you're like, oh, that's cool, but it's like there's a layer that is often missed until you feel it in person, and until me and you are sitting together and I give you the backstory of this jacket, of why it was named this, and how it fits to that story that I was trying to tell, and what are the intricacies between the craftsmanship. Why did I use this like trim, this zipper, this butt, you know? Like these are often the details that are only able to be told in person, because at the end of the day, we're exposed to so much online that I'm not going to even try to tell you, hey, bro, wait, stop scrolling. This t-shirt is single stitched because it's Lavish Hippies from the 70s. This method isn't used anymore. No one cares, bro.
Yeah, I know.
You know, you come in person, though, we'll have that discussion and it'll be a different story.
Like, for example, like the Zenith jacket you're wearing right now, what's the story behind that?
So the Zenith jacket...
also a really cool name. What does Zenith mean?
Zenith is actually... this jacket, every piece from the Lavish Hippie was named after either a hippie or a area that was kind of very monumental in the hippie movement. Or, for example, this t-shirt, I think it's called the Viceroy or a Saratoga, I don't know, either one of them, is a cigarette brand that was discontinued. That is in there. And in the back
wavy. That's
wavy.
wavy.
Yeah. And the back of it is a cigarette box that was inspired by that.
Yes.
But it has flowers in it, right? The Zenith was the only piece in the whole collection that I named it Zenith because, if I'm not mistaken, I still got to look up what Zenith means. It means celestial. Like it almost means like
Okay.
like it gives you the feeling of like almost like a, I want to say like a godlike feeling, like a
Okay.
great feeling. And I named it that because the other one, its counterpart, is called the Roxy Overcoat. And the Roxy Overcoat is named Roxy because Roxy was a famous nightclub back in the 70s when people went out to. And when I create in dual, so I create proper and dirty, right? So Zenith is a counterpart to that. And Zenith is also made for going out, right? But when you wear it out, I want you to feel like celestial, like you feel confident. So that's why I named it Zenith. And it's a counterpart to Roxy because Roxy's overcoat is long and Zenith is cropped, right? And the elements that I used from the 70s is the extremely wide collars here, right? And I blended it with a crop fit. They probably did have a bit of crop fit, but it's mostly just because Roxy is so long. I just wanted to create the counterpart to it. So that's why I named it that. But it's the only piece that doesn't take any inspiration from any 70s things.
So there's levels to this shit.
Yeah,
like
bro.
what you just explained, like it wasn't just a simple like, oh, I like the color coordination and the feel of, like there was levels, like even with the proper dirty. One is proper, one and the contrast dirty. See, I didn't know that.
Yeah.
And to be honest with you, I'm more inclined to buy that now.
Yeah.
You know what I'm
That's
saying?
what I'm saying though.
Yeah.
See, we have these conversations and I tell you the story and I tell you what.
Because I know it's not corny. I know it's not on the surface with you now. It's you really dissecting it to the core of what you're feeling and what kind of inspiration, like the whole cigarette company that got discontinued, that's wavy as hell.
Yeah. See, that's the thing that I was telling you is just like, I feel like there's a lot more joy in it for me when I do my research too. So for each collection, very selfishly, it's almost like a chance for me to learn as well, you know? So I'm able to dive into something that I never really had as much information on and do some research on it and also connect that subculture to my audience and then be able to tell that story and bring that culture in through the clothes. You know what I mean? So I'm educating a bit, but I'm also learning a lot. I didn't know the Roxy was a nightclub in the 70s that was popular. I didn't know Viceroy and Saratoga were cigarettes. You know, like these are, it's educational. It's very educational. And I learned, yeah.
And when you're going through the whole process, what's one of the things, like what are some of the obstacles that come up? Because it's a long process, man. And I can't imagine how stressful it is to deal with production, marketing, something, you know, gets done a little bit late.
Yeah.
The vision doesn't really come out as what you expected to. There's just a whole bunch of moving parts in this whole production. What's some of the things that you go through? And through the process of creating and having all this inspiration, is there a time where a little bit of doubt creeps in where you think to yourself, is this what I'm really inspired by right now? Or can I take this to another level? Can I dig a little bit deeper in the storytelling? Like what are some of the worries and the doubts and the negative things that come up?
I would be lying if I told you like it's all gravy, man. It's like I can't even tell you how many doubts I have. You know? I have doubts right now sitting in front of you about what I'm gonna preview tomorrow and this week. From the inception of the idea until the release of, let's just talk about this collection right now because this is what's happening.
Right.
You think of this crazy idea, right? You have it in your mind. You're like, oh, this would be cool to like make something out of. So you have to find the fabrics, right? Now, the way that I work, I'm on calendar right now, so I'm making a year in advance right now, right? So for this, it's releasing just now for spring. I had finished it spring of last year, the samples, right? To present it. Source the fabrics, you know, fabric sourcing is one of my favorite parts. I have to feel a lot of different things, like what fits, what doesn't. A year in advance, you might not be able to find those fabrics anymore. Some of them get discontinued. Some of them are not available anymore. That's one worry.
Mm-hmm.
Production locally in Vancouver is very hard. I have to make all the samples, get the orders from, let's say, the stores and myself, while I'm making another line for next year. You know, so let's say I finish in spring. Summer and fall, I'm making fall, winter of the next year while the production for this is happening. So my production is making samples for next year while at the same time producing stuff for spring. And I'm not the only one at that production factory, you know? So building the trust for them to meet the deadlines, because your livelihood depends on this. Because if I don't present during this week, the buyers are gone, bro.
Yeah.
There's no compromise on this.
There's a lot of things that are out of your hands at
There's
that point.
a lot of things, and a lot of it is just, you have to be optimistic and trust the process, bro, to think that people will make it work. Your photographer, your videographer has to deliver on time. You gotta hope that your printers print with as least amount of mistakes and ruin as least amount of pieces as possible. You gotta pray that UPS or whatever carrier you use delivers your deliveries and doesn't lose your packages. You gotta hope that the quality check on all the pieces are done and the sewing and whatever that was happening for production is on par with what the samples are, so the stores that you're delivering to are happy. I care a lot, man. It's like I care a lot about people being happy with what I put out. And I lose a lot of sleep thinking people aren't going to be happy with what I put out and what they buy, especially. Like,
And Ashkan, I got a question about the quality assurance aspect of that.
Yeah.
How do you ensure that other than just hoping it's right? Do you go and inspect the factories? Do you occasionally just check in and have a look at what they're actually producing to make sure that it's up to your standards?
Yeah, one of the beautiful things about having the production be here in Vancouver is that I get a chance to actually visit the factory like so many times during the process, and continuously like check in with everything and make sure everything is going smoothly. And yeah, I get a real hands-on. I'm still very much so part of every single part of the process, bro. You know, so. And after I receive everything, even though they have their own QC, like they have their own quality check, I'm still like lifting every t-shirt and I'm looking at it. After printing, I'm still looking at all the prints. I'm like inspecting everything and making sure that everything is okay and up to standard. Because one of the things that like I heavily believe in is not compromising on quality. There's no compromise, bro.
No.
You know, at this level, I know what I got to do. It's like cutthroat, man. Like you don't deliver the quality that you're supposed to, and there goes a customer. There goes two. There goes three. It's like, you know, I want to establish the quality and I want to make it better. Not
You hold yourself to a very high standard.
yeah.
And it's interesting you say, dude, when you say that you really like you lose sleep
Yeah.
on, you know, worrying about if people are gonna receive it well. Do you think that's, I mean, it's gotten you to this point. I mean, Proper Dirty has gone to such a, you know, such a big part of the whole journey. Do you think that's a bit of it's a blessing and a curse where you are losing sleep? It is messing with your mental at times, right?
Yeah.
And you may be, you know, it's really affecting your well-being at some point, but at the same time, it's pushing you to hold yourself to a high standard, holding the brand to a high standard. So, like, is there like a bit of a push and pull? Like, do people around you tell you, "Hey, Ashkan, like, dude, like, you're good. You're overthinking it a little bit. You're putting a little bit too much pressure on yourself.
Yeah.
It's gonna get received well, man. Just do what you gotta do. Do it with your heart. Do it with inspiration, and it's gonna turn out well. And if it doesn't, who gives a fuck? It's for you, right? Like, do you have that battle where,
Yeah.
you know, is it like it's obviously good because you're holding yourself to a high standard, but it's
Yeah, I think it's exactly that. It's like it's a blessing and a curse. And a lot of people that are like close to me and in my life, they do tell me that like, yo, you know, you got to take some time to enjoy it too, you know, like, because it's such a non-stop thing, bro. You know, like after this week, I have 2 weeks off and then it's the next thing. For me, I'm in the future. Like this week I released this line, but I was shooting fall winter 24. I was shooting next year's collection while this was going to get released. So this release that with this event that we were talking about was not even on my mind until the day of. Because I had to deal with the whole process of setting up the shoot, making sure everyone's there, making sure it runs smooth, like da-da-da-da-da, you know? And then when that was I was like, whew. But then I slept, I woke up and it was the event.
right.
And it was like the next thing. And it's just like, I love it though, man. Like it's like, I don't know, for whatever reason, it's like that's how I feel like I thrive in that chaos of like, you know, being on. And I really enjoy it. Like it's like, I thought as a person, my personal life and who I am as a person, I'm also very extreme, you know? And this is an extreme kind of industry to be in terms of like how much you got to do. But I don't think I have balance in my personal life in a lot of ways.
Right.
And I don't have balance in my work. And I think it's okay. You know, I try to create.
It's funny that you say that though, because like I want to go back to that point that you mentioned about the comment that people say, you know, your friends and family probably telling you you got to enjoy things, which is fine. But what a lot of people don't understand, and you know, for me, I can relate to that. Somebody who has tried to run their own business and not very successfully, but one of the things that I learned on it is that, you know, there's a lot of pressure. You're wearing a lot of hats and all of it's on you. Right. And it's easy for somebody to come in and just say, yeah, take a break or you got to enjoy it. But the thing is like, well, everything falls on me for the success and failure of the business. So I totally understand where you're coming from too.
100%. And I think what people don't understand is the triumphs are great. For example, when people say, you know, so-and-so wore the clothing, you sold out of this piece is great. But just as you said, the failures are solely on me. Even though other people cause it, I'll never out them. I'll never say the production did this or my printer did that. It's me.
You take full accountability.
It's me, bro. Like I have to take it on the chin.
But that isn't you though. The production isn't you.
But the brand and what I put out and what I'm sold, I feel the responsibility for. And usually people will come to me. They won't know who's in charge of what and why this happened. It's like, it's on me.
They see Proper Duty, they see Ashkan.
Yeah.
They don't see Bob from the production factory. They don't see all that.
No.
I get it.
And I have to be responsible for that. So it's like, while the wins are good, the losses are also they're my responsibility. So, you know, there's a whole different side that you don't see it. You know, if you want to experience the wins, you got to be able to take the losses just as bad. You know, it's a twofold game, and people just see it one way and think it's all sugar coated, and it's all, you know, it's like it's tough, man. Yeah, it's tough.
Like one thing you said about this industry, it's extreme, right? Like if you being in this industry, it's nonstop, go. Yeah. Because fashion and trends and what's mainstream, it never ends. People are always wearing clothes. People, you know, the day that people just go walk out naked is the day that fashion's over. Yeah. Right? So like you said, man, like when you drop Lavish Hippie, you're already thinking about fall and winter of 2024, and you're already maybe even having thoughts about 2025 spring and summer. Yeah. And dude, is it one of those things where you're in love with the grind now, man? It's just a part of you.
It is, man.
Right?
Yeah.
You know, like for example, like for me with this podcast right now, I'm having you on right now. I knew that I was having you on. I was very excited, but I'm already thinking about next week. I'm already thinking about a month from now who we're trying to bring on, Chris D'Elia. Like, I'm already, right? Like, I'm here present with you.
Yeah.
Like you said, like with the event that you just had for Lavish Hippie, you were present during that time, during the celebration with everyone around you. 100%. But as soon as you leave, it's like, cool, that's in the past. I got to put it out of my head. Now what's next?
Yeah.
It's always like a now what's next thing with creatives and, you know, influencers, fashion creators, podcasts, whatever. And do you find joy in that now? Like, is that, at first, was it a bit of a struggle and you were, you know, getting bombarded with a bunch of different things and it got overwhelming, but now you embrace the pressure and the overwhelming things that are coming at you?
Yeah, there's like I'm just beginning to get kind of like a hang of, because there's a system to it, you know, there's a system to the madness. Like, once you get the dates down and you have an idea of when things need to be done by, it's a lot easier. So yeah, like the first time that I did it, which was not too long ago, I was like, whoa, you know, like trying to meet these deadlines and then have everything, because you're getting into the calendar. The fashion calendar is essentially, to break it down for you, is right now is Paris Fashion Week for fall winter 24. So for next year's stuff, they're showcasing their line, right? In June, there will be spring summer 25. They'll showcase their lines for the following year. Like, having the samples ready to showcase for these two is tough, because at the same time you are also producing that season stuff and making sure the deliveries are done for that. But there is a method to it. You gotta have trust with everyone in the process. People have to trust you and you have to trust them. So my production team, like, thankfully I've worked with them for like half a decade, you know, so they can trust me, and I guess paying them is the biggest thing for them. And for me is, they care about me. You know, they want to see me succeed and they want to deliver on times, even though I'll lose a few hairs during that process. Please, guys, like, for this, you know,
they understand the story, you know.
Yeah, bro, like, I honestly picked up this jacket and everything Thursday, and then my event was Friday. I didn't have anything until the day before, bro.
Jesus.
So there's like, I'm like losing hair with, like, the first time it happens, you really lose, but then it just gets gradual. You just like, all right, just trust them, and hopefully, like, there's been times that I show up and I'm like, you know, like, I had this event and then I needed the samples for the shoot, and I showed up on a Friday expecting for them to be ready, and they didn't have the samples, and my shoot was on the Monday, and I've booked the place, and I've booked a videographer, hair and makeup, photographer, and I showed up and it's not done, and I just looked at him. He was like, I'm not compromising, guys. I need this. And I've worked for 6 months for this. And I have everything lined up for Monday. I'm not leaving until I get the samples.
And what did they say?
They got the samples. You know what I mean? I'm not, bro, like, what can I do? You know, like, I've told you.
You literally need it. It's not, there's no compromise. Can't compromise.
There's no way. Compromise. No. I can compromise with a lot of things. Like this being done on Thursday. That's what I told them. I was like, stop everyone who's making stuff for this. Do the samples, man. Because the samples for the shoot is my Monday. My event is on Friday. Screw the jacket. Let's get the samples done. And then you're going to have to get it done. I'll give you until Thursday. But Thursday night, I'm going to come pick it up. Because Friday, I got to go release it. So it's like inches, man. Inches, bro. You know?
The people you're with, they need to be on it. Like, you need that.
Yeah. It's like,
you can't afford to.
No.
Yeah.
And this is the thing. It's like, I think the last time we talked to, because I listened to our podcast, it's like, one of my biggest goals is to just, as I move on, make that process more streamlined and build a relationship that's a more and more trusting, I guess. And eventually the goal is always to create your own, like a factory, like a kind of like a production line where your patterns, your samples, and your production is just done in-house, and you don't have to worry about no one else. You just have an idea and it's done, you know? That's always the goal, but back then I was a little bit naive. It's a little bit more costly than than just saying it, but it's still the goal.
Tell us more about your production pipeline. You know, you mentioned the word trust several times, which is obviously important when you're building a business. But I want to know more about, you know, especially in the early days, how did you find the right people to work with? Obviously, this has got to be more than a one-person operation. You rely on, you know, you talked about distribution and, you know, the people that are actually helping you make the garments and stuff like that. And obviously you design them, but you obviously have people that you work with. So tell me a little bit more about how you found the right people to work with.
Yeah, it's been a lot of trial and error. And so I don't know if I told you, but basically the way that I got into fashion was just printing on Gildan tees. This was like a decade ago when I was in university. I would just print.
I remember you telling me that the first time, yeah.
And that graduated into cut and sew. And at first it was walking down Fraser, where there's a lot of like Indian fabric stores and they make bridal stuff. And I figured, you know, like I'll find a sewer there. So I would knock on like sewers doors and I would like go into their, essentially it's their house. Yeah. And I would show them my pattern and they wouldn't speak English. So I'd bring my Indian friend and be like, bro, just make this happen. So, you know, so that's how it started. And then they would, man, like very skilled people, you know, a lot of skilled sewers. That's like how it started into getting to cut and sew. And then I was like, okay, I need like more quality. Started like meeting with a lot of pattern makers, a lot of different pattern makers in Vancouver, and choosing a couple, working with them. And with each collection, I would like kind of like divide, like maybe like give them half, and see like how the quality is, like evaluate essentially, right? And that process got less and less and less and less until I found my current team that, you know, pretty much like they make the pattern and then they make the sample and the production. So my process right now is as streamlined as it gets because I'm not getting my pattern made and then driving to the, you know, and then going to another.
It's all happening in one place right now.
That's it.
Yeah.
But that was kind of like a lucky thing because the team that I'm working with right now, it was also, they were a factory before and they had different owners and the owners were a little bit, I would say older, obviously. And the kind of like the project manager who's in charge of everything now is a young dude. And, you know, I can communicate with him very easily, you know, and he knows what's up. Like, he knows, like, he's with the times, you know, like if I have an idea or if I want to get something done, he gets it, man. Like it's so easy. And the pattern makers that we have, like she worked at Dior, like quality, man. And the sewers that we have for the more complex pieces, they've all like had like 20, 30 years of experience. Like I'm blessed. I'm very grateful and I'm very worried right now sitting in front of you because those sewers are going to retire this year. And you brought up this whole process. I'm actually going to have to like pivot and find what I'm going to do because this whole production and this, as good as it sounded just right now, it's not going to be there for much longer, bro. And I'm in a very uncertain time because I might even have to move from Vancouver to like, let's say Toronto or somewhere else because I'm finding it more and more difficult staying here given the circumstances if my team is not here. I've been fighting for staying here, and I love Vancouver, but if this team is not here, I'm not going to be here because it's so much easier to make clothes, let's say in LA or perhaps Toronto. You know, Toronto, I mean, Vancouver, there's...
Why is that though?
It's just the industry. It's just the industry. I think there's not that much demand for what I'm doing currently here in terms of both production and people just being interested in what I make as much.
Well, you can see it with so many. I mean, just look at how many big fashion brands outsource all their production to Asian countries, right? Because the labor is cheaper, and of course the quality isn't. I mean, I'm not going to call out name brands, but I've stopped buying a lot of big name brands because their stuff just kept falling apart, and it was all made in China, and the quality wasn't there, and they're charging I don't mind paying a premium for quality stuff, but not at the expense of quality. I don't think it's right for me, like as a consumer with my hard-earned cash, if I'm going to pay 3 times the cost for your brand, it better be top notch. It better last a lot longer. There has to be some kind of value add there for me to actually spend the money on that stuff, right? It's got to be unique, and it's got to be good quality.
100%. And I think I don't really want to ever produce I want to be Canadian made. I want to be Canadian made. I would love it to be made in Vancouver.
Because it's more streamlined. You're overlooking.
I'm overlooking
the whole thing.
everything.
That's because you have an ease of mind knowing that you're overlooking everything.
Exactly. That is the biggest blessing. And just like we spoke is, bro, it's going to be, I'm dreading this so much because I have to build that trust from zero.
Again.
Now they're going to have to be like, who's this kid? You know, I'm going to be like, oh man, I hope they can deliver. That's going to be like tenfold. That's going to be tenfold. So if that scenario comes up when I show on Friday and they don't have my samples, they're going to be like, fuck you. Get out of here. You know, I don't owe you anything. It's going to be tough, man. It's going to be really tough, but it is what it is. I think maybe everything happens for a reason. Maybe maybe there will be something in another city that essentially will be better for the brand and myself. Or maybe I'll find something here. But I just love my team right now, and yeah, it's
tough, man. No, I get it. No, I really get it, because like you said, man, it's the whole trust thing. You've been working with these people. You have a relationship, right, with these people, right?
Half a decade, man.
Half a decade. It's not a short time, right?
Yeah.
And to find another team that understands the vision, wants to help you grow, wants to see you succeed, right? Like you said, your team right now, they want to see you do well. They see that, they understand the vision of where you're trying to find that all again, right?
I've told them the vision. I've told them the exact vision that I'm telling you. I said one day I want to have that factory where, you know, we can be partners. You know, you're doing this. Maybe we can have like a separate branch of what we're doing just for me, though. I don't want to wait for, you know, this brand to be done and then mine. I was just like, I have the idea. You manage it, and we'll create it. But it's time. Time is something that you can't buy, you know, and I'll see how it goes, bro. I have to figure this out. This is one thing that I'm dealing. I haven't even begun to think about this at all, because there's so much going on right now. But after this week, I'll have a little bit of breathing time, and I think I'll adjust and I'll figure out. I have a couple things in mind, but it's uncertain. We'll see.
I know you got a lot on your plate and you're thinking about a lot of stuff, but I just want to give you a compliment, because I just hearing you talk about this, like your fashion line and what you do. One of the things that I find fascinating and I love is that you incorporate vintage concepts or vintage styles, but you blend it in a modern way. Like you can have something that's modern, but you see the DNA, you see elements of older styles like in there blended, and you make something totally unique. Whereas, you know, Mo and I were talking about this before in the morning, that fashion is cyclical. You'll see styles come and go, right? You know, skinny jeans were popular at a time, then they went out, and then everybody wanted baggy jeans. Then the skinny jeans came back. Then we got high waisted back, like just like in the 70s.
Yeah.
But those are all things that have been around before, whereas it seems like you're trying to do something unique. You're taking the best of all these different eras, you're incorporating it, but making it into something new, which I think is really cool to see. Thank you.
Yeah, I think that's exactly one of the things that I've always wanted to do with, especially like with this collection. But I take joy in learning about the past and how things were made and what the practices were, and what the details are, and why they aren't around. Why are vintage tees so sought after? Why does this look like this here? You know, I study it and then I interpret it through modern silhouettes. Exactly what you said. That's like literally one of our, you know, brand missions, I guess.
Right. Yeah.
I study it and then, yeah, interpret it in my own way and fuse things together. And yeah, it worked really great, I think, for this collection. Yeah.
And what about old world production techniques? Is that something you look at, like how things were done in the past? Because I know, just talking to my mom and my grandmother, who's no longer around. And my grandmother was actually a great seamstress, and she always talked about the decline in modern mass production of clothing, how the quality has gone down, and you definitely see it like that too. But of course, technology also brings a lot of benefits too, in terms of efficiency, bringing costs down. So is that something you ever think about, weighing how do you balance the efficiency and the cost savings with keeping the quality up and,
Yeah, it's always a battle. It's always, even having things made here itself is like such a battle, because a lot of times people will wonder why things are priced a certain way. But to be truthful with you, it's like, yeah, I take great pride in having very quality production. A lot of things are like done by hand, for example. You know how expensive that is, man. Like the cardigan that we had for this, down to the embroidery, it's all done by hand, man. The embroidery itself, it's so expensive to do.
Yeah.
The practices that were done then, and a lot of the methods that they use. Give you an example: the T-shirt that I'm wearing, or every T-shirt from this collection, is done through with a single stitch, like the sleeves and the bottom hem. It's not done anymore at all. You won't see a production of any T-shirts that you purchase in any store with single stitch anymore. Part of the reason why vintage tees are so in demand, one of them is because of that. Because that method is seen as more durable.
Right.
And aesthetically maybe more pleasing for some. And for me to replicate that without the machines that don't exist anymore, obviously, it adds cost.
Yeah.
Because they have to go out of their way to figure out how to do this. And then just for me, create this production line of just doing it this way because I want it, because it's so, I feel like, important, man. Like, it's like people, like, the details are everything for me. And I think it adds another layer of, almost like another layer of like authenticity and like magic. Like, it's like, oh wow, he really went this far with this, Do
you ever worry about like going away from like what's mainstream right now? Because baggy pants, baggy tees, oversized everything is kind of the thing right now.
Sure.
Right? Guys like Drake are kind of pushing it too, right? Like,
sure.
Throughout his whole tour, he was wearing really baggy jeans, blue jeans.
Yeah, but that's always been a thing with hip hop. Look back even 25 years ago.
Right. But what I'm saying is, like, you see all these young kids emulating those guys, right? Like Lil Yachty, they're wearing all these oversized, because that's sort of like it's with fashion, from what I've heard, is like it's like a pendulum, right?
Right.
Early 2000s, baggy.
Right.
Mid 2000, 2008 to like 2015, 16.
Right.
Skinny jeans, tighter. Right, that really like snaps.
Comes in and goes. I guess
comes and goes, right?
Yeah.
How much of that is in the process of creating? Do you see these trends happening and think to yourself, do I want to cater to, a certain demographic, or do I want to just go my way? And is it tough to tell yourself, I see what these big time celebrities and these guys are wearing. Fuck that though. I'm gonna do what I feel like it, and I'm gonna go my direction. Is it tough, or do you try to implement a little bit of the mainstream into your lines?
I'll tell you how I look at it. This is one of the brand pillars is ideas over hype. My idea is lavish hippie, right? Baggy jeans, baggy whatever it could be in right now. The 70s had a different look. You know what I mean? I couldn't be bothered about what's on trend. You know, my idea supersedes everything else, but it's the most important thing, but I'm not oblivious to the times. I know as a business, you got to cater to what people want, right?
Of course.
So what I do is I'll sneak it into the collection, but I'll sneak it in a way that's not just for the sake of doing it. I'll sneak it in the silhouette fitting a little bit baggier than it should, but still maintaining and adhering to the overarching idea, right?
Right.
So
Yeah, because you have to be true to yourself. And what is the mission statement of the company, right? What do you want to do? What makes you happy? Obviously, you have to build a business that makes money too. But it's like a seesaw. Like you're always in the middle, trying to do this balancing act of like staying truthful to myself, but also satisfying the needs of the customers that are ultimately buying their clothes. But I will say this about fashion with kids, is I observed this in high school. And the thing I always remembered about high school and what other people told me is that yes, kids influence, they pressure their parents to buy whatever that piece of clothing that their favorite hip hop artist or whatever pop star is wearing. But I will say this about trends in high school is that kids do not always adopt what is the most current cutting edge fashion. Oftentimes those whatever fashions they adopt linger for way too long, and they are far from what's on the cutting edge. And I don't think you can really build a sustainable business on just that, because they don't often wear the most fashionable clothing.
Yeah, exactly. And I think like as a brand and like as a company, today's day and age, I think what happens is everything is very fickle and everything is very fast in terms of like how people even think. Like, I don't think in the short term of let's just make this because it's going to sell well right now. Like right now, put up this, it's going to sell this much and that's it. It's like if you're thinking like that, you're going to be known for, let's just go with baggy pants right now. You put out baggy pants, sells out, you're known for that. It's like, what if skinny jeans become the thing tomorrow, bro? What is the brand standing on? What is the foundation? What are you even about?
Right.
What are you? Like, what is the brand? That doesn't even get... Because, like on TikTok, you'll see like, this drop, I just sold out this many. I sold this many pieces. It's so fast and it's so without substance. And I see it day in and day out. And it's just like...
It's for all the wrong reasons.
Yes, exactly. And there's no substance behind it. There's no story. There's no meaning. And I think it can be successful and it can be super lucrative, but it is not long lasting because the brand needs to have a foundation that stands on something that far exceeds trends and hype. Trends and hype.
100%.
Right?
You're talking, I mean, we could talk for a long time about that, but you're talking about an overarching, bigger problem with society now, right? And obviously social media, as you've noticed, is perpetuating this whole thing and people lose interest in things very, very quickly too. Right. But you're right, that's not really sustainable too. And if you want to be a brand that lasts, let's say like a Calvin Klein or Dior or what one of those big brands, you got to move past that too.
100%. If you want to stay in the game, you got to be able to create in a way that is unaffected by trends or hype, and possibly by being so unique and carefree, you create them and people will want to be like you.
Yeah. Are you chasing trends or are you creating them?
Yes.
That's the difference.
Yeah. So it's a tough thing, but I don't worry about it. I don't think like that anymore. I always try to just pay attention to that overarching like story and idea. And if everything is in symphony, kind of like in synchronicity, like and fitting into that story, I know I've done a good job because everything makes sense. I'm not doing it and it's not sticking out like a sore thumb. Like it's not like, let's say this whole collection is about the color black and I have like green in there. It's like, bro, why is that there? Just because green is popular right now, you just put that one piece in? No, man, we're gonna go with the idea that I had.
Right.
And
you're not in the business of selling your soul just for the quick buck. Like, you're in it for the long run. And in the big picture, in the long run, 20, 30, 40 years down the road, people are going to look back on Proper Dirty and be like, they stayed true to their idea, to their ethos.
Yeah.
And the man behind the whole thing, Ashkan, really did not get sucked into the trends and the hypes. And he is now the trend maker of what kids are wearing 20, 30 years down the line. Like, you're playing the long game.
Yeah, I'm playing the long game.
And do you see, not to shit talk any, fashion designers and people that have their clothing line, but do you see a lot of creators fall into that trap of losing their idea of what their brand is and what, why they started even in the first place? And it doesn't even necessarily have to relate to clothing, man. Like, even with podcasting, one thing that I'm starting to realize, and I've caught myself do this a few times, I've brought on guests that have been great guests. Every guest I've ever had on have had a lot of value to give to each episode in different ways, right?
100%.
But a lot of times I feel like I've lost myself because I've maybe tried to cater to a certain group, or I've seen, something happen in the media where, I want to talk about that just for the views. And I catch myself after the episode or after a few episodes like that, and I tell myself, well, okay, why did I start this podcast? Like, what really deep down was burning for me to get on camera and talk about it, right? And then I have to go back to, the fundamentals of the whole thing, right? And what you're doing right now, standing on your pillars of what Proper Dirty is going to pay off tenfold. Maybe like you said, like you could take the quick route and, sell out and be very lucrative in the month, 6 months, a year. But the bigger picture, 20, 25 years down the road, you're willing to stick to your roots, maybe not sell as much as someone else's that is putting out baggy pants, but it's going to pay dividends and tenfold.
Yeah. I think once you kind of make these brand pillars and what they stand for clear, it helps a lot more, because whenever you start to veer off that, you catch yourself and you're like, this is not why I'm doing this, man. Like, this is why I started. This is bigger than these quick moments, these fleeting moments that are just here for today, I do think extremely long term.
Right.
Yeah.
Do you see yourself losing that sometimes?
Oh, 100%, man. Yeah. Even, but the thing with me is, though, I lose it and then I catch it right away. I'm like, I know what I'm trying to do. But in a lot of ways, like, if something is on trend and I think like I can fit it into the idea and actually put meaning behind it, I put meaning behind everything that is put out. So I don't have any like guilty conscience. That's kind of like selfish for myself.
Right.
Like, I have to give meaning, whether it's the name, whether it's the energy behind a specific, it might be a fabric, it might be a graphic. Everything has to relate to the idea. If it's not going into the collection. I can't put random things into that.
Right.
It's just not going to happen. But yeah.
It's so strong that you say guilty conscience. Like, that's literally how you feel when you're not putting your everything into a piece. Like, you really feel like you're doing a disservice to yourself and to the people. Like, it's to that extent, huh?
Yeah. It's man, it's like, it's who I am as like a person.
That's what I was gonna say. It's a reflection of who you are, man.
Yeah.
Like, you're a very genuine, transparent guy.
Yeah, and I sometimes I have like some of my best friends. They're like, not in a bad way, but they're like opposite. They're much more like carefree and able to navigate things with ease, like less like guilty conscious or something like happens, they're like less kind of stressed about it and not as overthinking it, you know. Not me, man. Not me. I take a lot of care and a lot of like put a lot of thought into things, and it takes a lot more energy, but it's just who I am. I've accepted it. It's just yeah, it's an extension of me in Proper Dirty as well, and I think it helps push the brand towards where I want it to. I don't think people that are not like that will be able to do the same work that I am putting out. I think it goes back to what I said earlier, is that being an extreme person is necessary in this, you know. I have to be.
And people can smell bullshit, man, when someone's not being genuine with
Yeah.
whatever, right?
I hope so.
Yeah.
I hope so. I mean, with a lot of things that I see on social media and stuff, I just know that it's they're playing the short game, and it won't be here in a couple of years.
It won't be, right? And
yeah.
the thing with, you know, not being so captured by the trends and wondering what you have to do to implement the trend into the collection you're gonna put out is like there's a bit of like independency there. There's a bit of stableness, knowing that what you're gonna put out every single time comes from you, and it's not dictated by what younger kids are wearing, what Drake is wearing, what you know, the certain things that Gen Z people are into. Because once you give way to how people are going to dictate what you do, that's when you start losing yourself. That's when you start losing the whole ethos of Proper Dirty. And it's like you said, like you realize that on your own, or I mean, you have a good support system, I'm assuming, because for you to, you know, see that and tell yourself, okay, Ashkan, like go back to your principles, go back to the truth. That's all you do that on your own, huh?
Yeah, I mean, I did it. I found that out though because of that year that I didn't do that, because I wasn't as happy at the end of it, because I knew there was something missing, and that was the link. It was telling stories. Storytelling is the number one, I think, goal with Proper Dirty. Storytelling is at the core. Film, connecting to human complexities, emotions, and stories through the production of clothes and collection. That's literally one of the things that I have to do. And if I'm not able to tell the story, I'm not going to be happy, and the brand won't be good. But if I am telling a good story, and if the pieces are authentically driven by a thing that's has much more purpose to it than a trend, I always see people appreciating it. And on another level, let's say celebrities or athletes and stuff also appreciating it, which tells me I'm on the right path.
That's one thing I wanted to talk to you about, man, because how are you getting these big time athletes, celebrity? Devin Haney hit you up, dude.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
And did Shea wear a piece of yours?
Not yet, but yeah, he's
few NBA players I saw, which who were a few of the NBA players?
We had Emmanuel Quickly recently.
Let's go IQ. That's my guy.
Yeah. Toscano
Anderson.
Yes. Tobias Harris. Bro, there's been a few. Oh, Patty. Yeah.
Patty who? Patty Mills?
Yeah.
Oh, Patty Mills.
Patty
Damn.
Mills.
How are you getting these guys, man? Like, it's crazy.
Yeah.
I be seeing it and I'm like, yo.
Yeah.
You know, you got the Persian.
Bezad Leto. Yeah, man.
That was crazy. He gave you a shout out.
Yeah.
Crazy,
man. There's a couple of things. I think the biggest way, I guess, or reason that I have been is since exactly just over a year now, The brand has been in a showroom in Los Angeles, and basically the showroom carries the full line, right? And what happens is the stylist, or a lot of times the whatever, like the influencer, or the I guess the athlete or whatever, would visit it, and they would pick the pieces and either purchase it, or they would pull it for an event, like let's say like a red carpet, or ask me to create something for them in their measurements. And so a lot of it came through that. And once you get a couple people like that reaching out to other celebrities, and they see there's a rapport of like, you know,
Right.
well
And it
established,
snowballs after
and it
that.
snowballs, and then people are more inclined to, I guess, trust the brand and know that it's not just BS, I guess. But I think just being in LA, I just realized what the possibilities are, man. Like I don't tend to talk about some of the things that, I guess, until the pictures there or stuff, but some of the emails, some of the invoices, some of the stylists that I've connected with, of like, these are people that I dreamed of.
Yeah.
I didn't even, sometimes it's like surreal.
It's
It is
surreal.
still
It's like,
surreal. to
really?
me.
Like, this is happening right now?
I don't know how to act. Like,
Yeah,
I'm just
yeah.
kind of like, oh wow, this is happening.
I mean,
Like,
dude, at this point, all these athletes and celebrities shouting out,
yeah,
these big time people contacting you. That's all. I feel like that's all the reason you need to just stay true to Proper Dirty, and
Yeah.
to never even deviate towards the trends. Like, that just proved to you that you're doing something right.
100%.
And people that appreciate it, people that see it and love the honesty,
yeah,
will appreciate it. I mean, you got NBA guys, you got Devin Haney hitting you up. I mean, that's all you need. I mean, really. I mean, who gives a shit about what the trends are, what
Yeah.
Drake is wearing, what these like Gen Z kids are into? I mean, it doesn't even matter at that point. You know what I'm
No.
saying?
no, man, yeah, it's very reassuring to see that, you know, when stuff like that happens, you don't really, it's not like you chase the validation, but it's very reassuring to know that you're on the right path and you're doing something right, and people beyond the scope of where you live appreciate the work that you're putting out. It gives you confidence, right? You're doing something. Oh, this guy that's on a world stage likes the brand, and sent a message to me. It's like, bro, he didn't have to do any of this.
Yeah.
You know, he didn't have to shout me out. He didn't have to support, nothing.
No. And not to downplay Vancouver, but people from the States that are big household names in the States, and having your line in an LA store. I mean, you know, in a way, it's kind of like, screw what people in Vancouver think.
It's a tough battle, because it's always like, to give you an example, like, let's say I have a store even on Robson, which is arguably like the most iconic or the most exposure streetwise in Vancouver, right? When are you going to get an NBA player walking into your store? When are you going to get a celebrity, an artist? How many and when are they even going to walk in? You know, 1 year in LA, you've seen what happened.
It's crazy.
So that tells me, like, why keep fighting for something that doesn't exist when there's interest for it in another place that is interest in it? You know what I mean? I've been fighting for doing it and being the brand here and creating the space for it. Sometimes you got to go to the space that already exists.
Yeah, because it's not you, man. You
No.
can't accelerate the process of Vancouver catching up. Vancouver
Yeah.
needs to do that.
Yeah.
And Vancouver, unfortunately, is just not there.
Yeah.
It's just not there for creators, influencers, podcasters, fashion lines,
Yeah.
right? Like, at some point, like, do you feel like a bit of you is a little bit too loyal to Vancouver and you really, really want to make it here? But at this point, you're a big fish in a small pond,
Yeah.
essentially. And being in LA, you really got to work
Yeah.
to get your name out there. And you're doing that. So
Yeah.
it would just be it would just be crazy for you not to move to LA and just go
100%.
full head of steam there, right?
Yeah. Yeah. That's
You
what I've been thinking, bro. And that's
you know?
that's why I told you, like, things happen for a reason. Maybe my team here, the Soars, retiring, maybe to it's a weird sign, even though it's going to be a little stressful. Maybe I will and transition to a different place that has the culture there, has the resources for production, and we'll see where it takes me. It'll be harder, as you said. There will be more people to, I guess you can say, compete with. But when the interest is there, why not? You know, I already see I'm able to. No, I'm not doing crazy, but I think I'm doing pretty well by being 1 year in a different place, and that opened my eyes a lot, because it always was a dream to be the guy out of Vancouver. But sometimes you got to let the city catch up, and you do your own thing, and you always have your roots here. But yeah, I'm not limited to Vancouver, man.
No.
I'm not.
They're not really.
All.
They've definitely helped you out, but they're not really propelling you. It's kind of like you're pushing your weight. You're pulling your weight now. It's like you got to go to a place where, you know, it's an even playing field. And then, like you said, man, like there's competitors that'll make you, you know, want to compete.
Make me better, though.
Make you better.
Make me better, man. Right? It already does. It already does. And I look at it and I'm like, okay, I got to be better. I got to be better. They're putting out some quality stuff. How can I be better in next collection? How can I kind of push the envelope again and again, and just, it's always evolution. It's always getting better. Yeah, it's, for me, it's always a growth. Right. And I think I'll grow more in a different place now. I think I can keep growing a little bit, but I think I've hit a bit of a ceiling here, and I don't know. I would like to move to a different place. I think it'll be good for me as a person and the brand, you know, because I kind of know, I like the uncertainty. I like the unknown, and I like to put myself in these little kind of like uncomfortable situations and see, you know.
It's funny you say that, dude. Have you found out through this whole journey of creating Proper Dirty, have you noticed that when you get into an uncomfortable position or a place where you have to really grind through something, and when you do, you almost kind of get addicted to being uncomfortable and then overcoming that, and then finding you're actually like seeking out something else that's more uncomfortable, so you can conquer that. And then once you conquer that, it's like, what's the next thing? It's like a bit delusional and toxic for like a normal person to think about. Like, why do you seek out the uncomfortability in different things? But people don't realize, like, it's, you kind of get like addicted to like the grind. Like, for one thing about this podcast, I've, you know, done enough episodes that I feel more comfortable in doing them. But one thing I really want to do now is street interviews, and I'm very uncomfortable in doing that.
Street interviews.
Yeah, okay, going out and you know, doing quick little interviews. But that's something that I'm very uncomfortable with. But I know if I do get to that and I start doing that, I conquer that, it's going to feel so much more liberating and more fulfilling. And then I have to find the next thing and the next thing and the next thing. And then, you know, this just like continuous growth, continuous process of just like getting better. And have you noticed that you're like almost addicted to finding the next thing to make you uncomfortable?
Always, bro. Like, as a person, I'm always looking to make myself uncomfortable, because I know something great will come out of it. And every year, as I'm like, especially like in the past few years, I've realized, like, in my personal and in my work life, the confidence that I have gained through doing more and more things that I didn't know if I would be able to do, conquering them, gives you a special kind of energy and confidence to even dream bigger and go after crazier and crazier ideas. Yeah, like this collection that we just wrapped was the most crazy and uncomfortable situation that I put myself in. And I think it's gonna roll out this week. I can't believe I did it. Like, I cannot believe. Still, like, I'm just getting the content back, and I'm in disbelief of being able to, because I was just sitting on a beach like 6, 7, 8 months ago. I thought about this idea, and I just said, I'm gonna do it. I'm just gonna do it. And it was just out of thin air, pulled it out, and I just kept repeating it, and I told different people, like a couple different people, to make it real. So then now they're like, oh, and it just like puts a little bit of pressure on you. You're like, oh, I'm gonna do it. And yeah, I chase it 100% because that's where the greatness comes out. Like whenever I've
like
done.
you leveled up from that whole thing.
Yeah.
Like after it dropped, you automatically just improved.
Yes.
Creativity. And now like what you're saying is, you know, there is a bit of a storm coming with this whole production thing and that falling off. But the next thing is moving to LA, moving to Toronto.
Yeah, but once you do these things and once you successfully or even attempt to and just do it, you know, that confidence will allow you to deal with more stressful situations with a lot more ease. Before this drop, like the Friday that happened, when I told you like the samples weren't done, that was one thing that happened that day. In a matter of 30 minutes, I think it was like 5 phone calls. 5 things went wrong. My samples weren't done. One of the locations for the shoot fell out. I think the printer had a difficulty. And 2 more things. It was 5 things, bro. And I was like sitting in my car for a second. I was like, how much more? Is this even real? Like, is this a movie right now? What's happening to me? Like, but it's a puzzle. In my mind, it's just a puzzle of how I'm going to navigate and what we're going to do. And that's how I look at it every single time. Just like, this is a puzzle and we're going to get through it. Like, there's a way. We're going to get through it. So,
and after going through so many of those things, those moments of things going wrong and shit going into complete shambles.
Yeah.
You are more accustomed to sitting with it and thinking of it as more of a puzzle.
Yeah.
Right? Like if it's like the first few times that's happened to you, you just completely melt down.
Oh yeah.
But the more and more you go through it, it's just almost, it's like, it's weird. It's like you almost invite it. Like, okay, cool. Like these things are happening. Cool. This is actually fun because it's a challenge now. You know what I'm saying? It's crazy to think that way.
I do think that way. I do think that way. It's like at this point, man, nothing surprises me. Like the amount of stuff that has happened, and you just have to be optimistic and also just be able to adjust. You just have to be adaptable and know that there's a way and it'll pass, and nothing really truly matters as much as you're making it out to. You'll figure it out. Like you'll figure it out. It's just just have to figure it out no matter what. It's a puzzle. Like it's just that's how I look at it.
It really is.
Yeah, it might not be to the way that you thought, but there's another way that you can take, you know. That's it.
I mean, that's one of the things Kobe used to say, like, yeah, the challenges suck, but if you just flip your perspective on it and think of it as, oh, this is a challenge, I like it. Like those 5 things that happened to you that day, for any other person that would have broke them down.
I guarantee you 2 of them would. I guarantee you.
Maybe even 1. They would be like, yo, fuck this isn't what I want to do. I'm done. Like they just completely throw in the towel. Done. But for you, it just sounds like it's almost like, okay, nice. I like it. Bring it.
Bro, that's it.
It gives me anxiety. It gives me excitement at this point.
Yeah.
Bring the challenges on.
It's almost like it's like the drama in the it's like dealing with the drama in the movie. It's like nothing is ever gonna be as smooth as you think. You just plan for it. Every single time shit's gonna go south. Every single time, bro. But it's just the repetition builds the confidence, which builds the adaptability, the resiliency.
Yes.
100%. Yeah.
Yes.
So I'm not surprised by anything. I'm just ready for anything. Yeah, that's what it is.
And at this point, anything that's thrown at you, you know you'll find a way one way or another.
Yeah, 100%.
Figure it out. I mean,
100%.
With this whole production thing, yes, it's stressing you out. And it's okay to be stressed out, but cognitively, you can tell yourself, you can get to the point where it's not a terrible thing. It's just another challenge that you're willing to go up against.
That's it.
Yeah.
This is a little bit off topic, but I think something that I did is also has built an immense amount of like realization that I can get through whatever. And I think it kind of connects things, but I have to lay the ground a little bit before I tell you. Have you listened to the podcast that we did at all? The first one?
A little bit. I hadn't read. I listened to it a few weeks ago when we booked the time for you to come in, and I listened to it a little bit. But like, it's just something.
Something really interesting. So I'll lay the ground first before, like, there's multi-layers to it. But I told you there's 2 fashion shows in a year, one in January, one in June. January, which is happening right now up until, I believe it's tomorrow, it's runway shows. So people present their collections through runway. A lot of brands, including myself, don't do runway. Maybe it's because of budget. Maybe it's because we're just not interested. So we preview the brand in another way. It could be through Instagram or showrooms in Europe, whatever, right? I present my line on Instagram, and I always roll out the story like how I'd envision, like a debut of a film, essentially.
I love it.
Yeah. So in June, when this collection finished, I immediately had the idea for the next collection, right? It doesn't happen often, but I knew right when it ended, I was like, this is what I'm going to do. This is the story, essentially, for the collection. No one, other than like a handful of people, know this, but this is exclusive. This is what I was excited about. I've been keeping it in, and finally it's debuting this week, so I can talk about it. But the story is essentially of an up-and-coming boxer who started from nothing, who fought his way through the ranks, who ate shit, man. Like, he was beat up, this and that. And he fought his way up, all the way up until the title fight. And so for this collection, it's called No Mercy, Fall Winter 24. I envisioned what a boxer that has nothing, who's training in the gym, would wear for training, essentially, all the way up until he's made it. Essentially, the red carpets, fur jacket, like, you know, everything, like what a champion would wear. And so we just wrapped the campaign shoot for it. We did a whole press conference. We did training in the mountain. We did, we did a bunch of different scenes, essentially, and you're going to see this roll out this week. We're going to do like reels of these little snippets of the boxer all the way up until the short film, which is him essentially being asked at the press conference, what does this fight mean to you? And he goes into a monologue explaining what he's been through, right? And it shows all the different scenes. That sounds like a pretty sick story to me. But I was like, you know what, man? Like, I want to like take it up a notch. So theater is essentially very much so like embedded into the DNA of the brand. Like, I love theater. I have a theater background. I love acting, and I haven't done acting in a while. And I love boxing. I love combat sports.
I was gonna get into that with you.
Yeah. I've always wanted to fight. So I said, I'm gonna create this collection for this fictional character, this guy who's fought his way to the title, but I'm gonna become that guy. I'm gonna train like that guy for 6 months. And at the end of it, I'm gonna fight. I'm gonna create my own boxing shorts and my robe, and it's gonna be part of that collection. But no one's gonna know. So you go through 6 months of training, of getting your ass kicked, man, like literally bleeding, like waking up, running. I didn't see anyone. I ate the same diet. I lost like 20 pounds. Like I was an actual boxer, I would say, for like 5-6 months, while creating this 50-piece collection, the biggest collection that I've ever done. And it was all for the collection.
That is next level, almost method acting. You know, I mean,
I'm sorry, like it seems like a little bit weird to say, but I'm so proud. Like, there's an immense amount of pride in myself to be able to pull this out of thin air. You don't know how fucking hard it was, bro. Like, a fight itself is very difficult. It just training for it, not the fight itself, just training for 5-6 months. I was in the best mental, like, sharp. My brain was firing at all cylinders, like just on, man. Like it was amazing.
Completely dialed into the whole.
Dialed to a level that I've never been. Yeah. Right. You know, I would walk around the gym. I didn't used to like spar. Sorry, I'm just gonna get water.
Yeah.
I didn't used to spar hard. I used to train like boxing. I've boxed since like 2019 on and off. But sparring hard and wanting to fight, I never done. And it's a different beast.
Yeah, it's a whole different level than just training.
Yeah,
Yep.
it's like you're thinking like differently. You know, you're in a different mode. I would walk around the gym and I would say I'm gonna fight, and a lot of people were like, okay, but not only that, I was like, we're gonna throw the event here at our gym, and I would tell my coach, I'm like, coach, we're gonna have the event right here, and I'm gonna fight, and I don't think he believed me. No one really believed me. I would walk around and say that in the gym, and people were like, yo, you haven't even sparred. It'll be July, June.
Yeah.
I was like, I'll come in August 1st. I'm going to show up I'm going to give myself 4 months, and I'm going to have the fight in December, no matter what. Because the collection needed that. The rollout needed the fight. The fight is part of that the rollout. So the video
Part of the story.
ends with the fight.
Jeez.
Right? So then my coach was like, okay, we'll fight. I was like, no, let's have the event here. Life is funny, man. Like, he gained control of the whole space that we have currently. So YMCA moved out. My coach took over the whole space. And after 10 years, he hosted his first event for that night that I fought. It just gives me so much pride and joy to be able to say that I was a part of being able to make this happen. And like, this idea led to my teammates being able to fight. My coach was able to have the event. It went insanely well, successful. The collection, it ended up happening. The fight ended up happening after like pullouts, and so many like different scenarios happened leading up to it. I was injured, like all these things, but it happened. And the collection is done, and we shot the campaign, and finally tomorrow it's releasing and previewing. Like,
dude, I literally cannot wait for that. Have you thought about getting to directing? I think you're such a creative, and your brain is firing on like 20, 30 different cylinders.
yeah.
And I think that clothing is one way that you're expressing your mind. And I think that directing is something that is definitely in your future, dude. That's crazy. I mean, I can't wait to watch that, dude.
Thanks, bro. Yeah, I think directing and acting. I don't get a chance to act, but directing is one of the things that I have the pleasure of doing through the creation of the collections. And since we do usually like shoot the story like almost like a short film, I do direct that, and I love it. You know, it's just seeing it come to life is always one of the most enjoyable parts of it. And this one, I just happen to be the guy in front of the camera. I don't think I've ever done that. And I think it's great because people will get to know me, like the people that don't know me, like the stores maybe, or the people that are like buyers in Europe. They'll see the creative director and owner model, but also compete. You know, it's like it covered this collection, to tell you truthfully, it covered everything that I've ever wanted to do in life. I created, I competed, and I created it in a way that it was like art and acting and fashion, and with the sport that I love the most. And it's just this beautiful, like, I don't know, man. I don't think I've ever.
It's like a beautiful mix, like just like a conglomerate of everything coming together all at once, and not staged at all. I mean, this is something like you went out and fought. This was a real fight.
Yeah.
It goes back to whatever, dude, the whole brand. I mean, it just shows the realness of this whole thing. It's not even about the clothing line anymore at this point. It's just about expression of who you are and who Ashkan is and who he's trying to portray into this world.
But you know why? But you know why? What the most important part of that is, bro? I'm not the best designer, and I don't even classify myself as just a designer. What we said at the beginning, I'm a storyteller. And how I distinguish myself is by telling the best stories and letting clothes insert themselves into the stories. And that's what differentiates me and the other fashion. I don't think any other designer has debuted his collection through a fight. I don't know. Maybe there is one person.
Highly doubt it.
And so that's how I distinguish myself. Because everyone will have dope clothes. So many nice pieces online. Way nicer than mine. But how am I going to make those guys sweat?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know what to say, man. I mean, that's just another level of even like being so confident in yourself to really put yourself out there and staying disciplined throughout this whole course of, like, it's not something like boxing, losing 20 pounds, getting in fighting shape, sparring.
Yeah.
It's not easy by any means.
It taught me a lot about myself, though. It was good. It was the exact thing that I needed. And to link it all back, there's two more things. One was, why were you not having a mental breakdown when those 5 things went wrong on that Friday? I fought. You know how many things I had to go through to get to fighting? Rib injured, nose busted, can't breathe, this, that, going into a fight, the pressure of the event, the pressure of the collection, the pressure of not having a fight.
That's true, dude. I didn't even think of that. Like, not only did you have the pressure of, you know, there is another man in front of me trying to break my head.
That was the least stressful part.
That's the least shit.
Bro, when I was like warming up in the back, I don't know, for whatever reason, I was happy as like, I was so chill. I was like trying to tell myself things to piss myself off. I was like, this is happening. That walk that I had, like in August, I would imagine myself walking in the hallway because I knew it was our venue. I was like walking in the hallway and the Kanye song is going to play. Door's going to open. The fog is going to come. The light's going to hit me from here and my robe's going to be here. I'm going to do a turn. Exactly that what I had imagined went into that. And so when I was there, I was like, I already know what's going to happen right now. The fight was just the cherry on top for me. But the idea excited me and made me so happy that I was like, bro, this is happening. I'm here. And the next layer to really blow your mind, and why I asked if you listen to this podcast as we did, the last 3 minutes of our last podcast, you asked me, what do you see for Proper Dirty in the future? And I say, you know, I really want to have events. I miss having events because right now I can't connect with people on that. I want to throw cool events, not things that like nightclubs. I want to connect with people. One of the things that would be cool is if I had a boxing event and if I had amateur fights there. I want to connect boxing and fashion. That was 3 years ago. I do not remember saying that, bro. When I heard that, I don't
even remember saying you
the last 3 minutes of it. If you listen to it, I was like, that's what I want to do. And that was in my mind. And
man, I don't think you can live a simple life anymore, man. I think you're at that point where it's one of those things, like you're at a Tommy Shelby level where
the mastermind.
Yeah, where it's one of those things where you just need more, you want more, you need more at this point. And like the one line that got me in that show was Tommy gets asked, do you want a simple life? And Tommy's like, do I look like a man that wants a simple life? Like, I think that's real and you're really living it at this point. I think it's all go, no breaks at this point.
I'm really grateful. Honestly, like I'm really, really grateful to be able to do and dream. To dream and to be able to execute. I don't know what it is. I think the difference between like me and a lot of people is I just execute on these visions. I just, sometimes I think how, I don't know how.
Unapologetically too.
I say it, but my word will have substance because I will do it. I told two or three people in like June or July. One of them was during camping. We were sitting on a beach chair. So I was like, hey, bro, I just want to let you know, like, this is what I'm going to do. And he was like mind blown. He was like, I can't believe you're going to do this. The other people, they almost kind of just were like, okay, like they didn't even think it's going to be. But at this point, bro, whatever I say I'm going to do, yeah, I'm going to go for it. So like, I don't know what I'm going to do next right now. I don't have an idea, but it's going to have to be something that fuels me just as much. And for me, the idea, the overarching idea is what's going to fuel every single collection and my life essentially. And I get to act and I get to be in these different stories and live different lives through my job. I was literally a boxer. I lost weight, no self-gratification, no drinking, nothing, bro. This is it. I am doing this because I have a bigger purpose, because this collection's coming out, because I got to fight and I got to do well and I want to be as best as I can. And I'm not going to lie to myself because if I lie to, I can't. Because if you lie to yourself, you're going to get outed in front of everyone, you know? But once you do pull it off, and man, I'm so excited for this week.
Man, I'm excited to see it. Shit.
Yeah.
Like, this has got me hype. I'm not lying to you. And man, one thing like I love about you, and I respect tremendously about you, man, is like you can say these things unapologetically and say it without fear. Because a lot of people talk about their dreams and have big goals, but they say it very sheepishly, very, oh yeah, I want to, but you know, there's a certain amount of firmness and solidness to you at this point where you've done all these things now. There's no need to say it in a sheepish and quiet tone. You say it with your chest now, and that's for the rest of your life at this point.
It has to be, right? Like thankfully I have the confidence through repetition of pulling off crazy things, and just in my personal life too, just being in comfortable positions and doing things. And then I like things that scare me and excite me and make me uncomfortable. So I like thinking it, but then I like to say it. I like to say it to see other people, like how they react to it too. Like my friends, and like in the gym, just saying like, hey, we're going to have an event, boys. Like just my training partners, like, boys, December, we're fighting. Who's in? Like, let's go. People were like, bro, what are you fucking talking about? There's no event happening. There's no fight night. You haven't had one for 10 years here. It's like, bro, let's go. And then just getting the camaraderie of the hype building, and then everyone's sparring. You just go in the gym and everyone's getting excited.
Everyone starts to buy
into the thing, but it starts from nothing. And you built it through just saying it. And then again and again and again. And the people that thought you were crazy here are now coming along on this journey with you and bringing it to life. And you just form things from nothing with the help of the community. And that's with this and other things. Like, it's like for Lavish Hippie was getting the model that fit that image that I had and bringing the right photographer. And it's always just a team thing. It's never like just me. You know, the idea is maybe me because I come up with it, but the idea needs tens of people to bring to life. And for me, I'm very prideful, and this specifically just because it involved so many different actors, like the gym, the people in the gym, training partners, coach, my production team putting out 50 samples for the first time before this while producing Lavish Hippie. Me, myself, being disciplined enough to be on point, lose weight, make weight, say yes to every single opponent, fight someone who's heavier, who's had experience. Bro.
And there's a part of that where you are so disciplined in what you're doing and holding yourself to such a high accountability. You're expecting that from everyone else. Everyone else better come correct now, man. Like, there's no compromise. I just put myself through fucking hell and back. You motherfuckers better be on point and better be coming correct. That's
what I told them. That's what I told them in the production team when I showed up on to get the samples, because they knew I was fighting. They had the shorts ready a month prior. I showed up. I told them, guys, I can't sleep on my left side to this day because I got a bruised rib. I didn't do this for nothing. I need the samples because we're shooting the press conference. I already did the fight. The hard thing is out of the way. This is the last stretch. I need it. I'm not compromising. No mercy. No mercy. Literally, that was the collection title, and there was no mercy throughout for 6 months. For the production team, for the people that I was training with, they showed me no mercy. Hopefully I showed some other people a couple of things, to my opponent, everything. It was just, we're going to do it. Like, no matter what happens. You know, so many things went wrong. It just was the energy of the collection, and it was the energy of the mental, just being clear, disciplined. I was like, I'm pulling this thing out of the dirt one way or another. At one point, they were like, you're going to fight someone with 15 fights. I was like, yes, I am.
Jesus.
Yes, man. I am, bro. Like,
I saw that story. Care. I was like, damn.
Yeah.
You know, it
was whatever cost necessary, because everyone was like, bro, honestly, if it was like just like a fight, I probably maybe wouldn't say yes to everything. You know, maybe I would be like, but this was like, I need this fight. I was at this state of mind where I was like, no, I told my coach, I was like, brother, if you want to fight, I will fight you. Like, I need to fight. I don't care who it is. And we need to make this happen. And thankfully, like, everything happens for a reason, you know? My first opponent fell out. That really messed me up mentally. I was like, bro, because at that point, I was dealing with an injury too.
Right.
And I told my coach, I was like, I'm going into it with one arm. Like, I don't care. And then he pulled out after that. And I was like, my mental was like, I am willing to go to war for no matter what. And then he pulled out. I was like, and he showed up to the event.
He showed up, but he didn't fight.
No. And it really like bothered me because he was on the same weight, 0 fights. I think 0 fight, going into it with no fights is the most important thing, because that experience was, you can't replicate a fight. No matter, like, sparring is not a fight. It's like a dream. It's like you're in out of body experience kind of, you know? But then, yeah, that fell through, and then the coach, and I was like, yes. And then my teammate got injured a week out. His cornea got scratched, and he was fighting at the higher level, higher weight, and ended up getting his opponent, and it ended up being the main event. You know, like, all these different things happen. It just, I look back on it and I'm like, everything was how it went. Like, it should have gone exactly that. The collection is called No Mercy.
Yeah.
That's what it was.
Everything that happened was supposed to happen exactly how it happened.
Yes.
And there's no ifs, ands, or buts. And
yeah.
Man, that shit's so wavy. I'm at a loss for words of just how much you can handle and how much you're willing to handle, right? And
this is the most amount. I'm not gonna lie. I need that 2-week break next week. It would be a burnout if I kept going.
But I know by the end of the 2 weeks, you're just gonna be like, okay, let's.
Oh yeah.
It's time to go.
It's time to go. I'm like that, man. Yeah, I'm like that. So like in July, because I knew what I was gonna get into in August. I knew August 1st, I'm going into the gym and I'm starting that diet. July, I was having fun. I was doing things, but I knew it was coming. And it was just a switch for me. I was like, now we're mentally.
That dial in is a real dialed in. Like,
yeah. Because the stakes are much higher. It's not just like a fake acting. You're going into a boxing match.
This is a fight. Like, this is life and death at some point.
Yeah.
Man, this is a war.
Yeah.
You better come correct, you know? It's not.
That's it.
Yeah.
So I love it, man. I love being dialed. I love being healthy. Keeps me in check. I treat the collections that I make like a fight camp. 10 weeks. I need 10 weeks to create a collection. 10 weeks. And during that 10 weeks, I'm healthy.
Yeah.
I'm healthy. I'm eating good and I'm hydrating and I'm working out 10 weeks. And there's 2 fights a year. Spring, summer, fall, winter. Just so happened, fall, winter, we actually fought. But there's 2 camps a year and I'm dialed in during those no matter what. You won't catch me drinking. You won't catch me nothing. Like, I treat it like that.
Absolutely fucking dialed.
Yeah.
Wow. I'm copying this. Are you looking at? Alex is looking at the Zenith crop jacket. That's damn. Okay.
I'll give you another exclusive. When does this come out?
Couple weeks.
So we're in January 22nd right now.
January 21st.
I'm making this for an artist for Grammys.
Jeez.
It's a custom. He's very large, man. You have any ideas who it is? It's going to get produced probably this week, and then I'm going to ship it off before Grammys.
For the Grammys?
Yeah, the Grammys or the Grammy week. I think he said actually Grammys, because I'm in talks with his team. Very large, man.
J. Cole?
No, like very 6XL. He's been getting a lot of traction recently, I think. I think always, but especially recently. Like, I really like him as a person, too.
Yeah, you want to name drop?
Jelly Roll.
Jelly Roll, yes.
Yeah.
Damn.
Yeah. Through the last year, I've received some orders and some had to send invoices to some insane names. Yeah. And a lot of them I can't say because it's like, what are you talking about? There's nothing to show for, but I've done it. Maybe one day I'll release the list and people will be shocked.
You should, man.
I think I should.
I'm surprised you haven't already. I would be.
Bro, at the beginning, like at the first couple months, I was like, sweating because I was like, this is happening. Like, are they gonna wear it? Checking their page like every 30 minutes, like, when is this? But then, like, it keeps getting more crazy and like more people get it, and then you can't focus on it. When it happens, it'll happen. You just gotta trust it. You just let the team handle it, man. Like sometimes people send me the pictures and stuff. I'm like, I don't even know. I'm like, holy, like this is like last night I got someone wearing a piece that I made in Paris Fashion Week at Kid Super. I was like, Kid Super is one of my favorite brands. They are presenting in Paris. My piece is a part of that kind of, like, you know what I mean? Like when people buy a piece, like I'm part of their life. But when someone and when someone wears a piece, I'm part of their life, and I'm part of like a moment of time. In a sense, I've thought about that. It's very cool. Like people see me in their like everyday life.
Man, it's just like a bunch of full circle moments happening.
So crazy.
You know what I mean?
Over
like
and over.
Guys you look up to, guys that you see as role models and try to embody. Now they're talking about your pieces. Now they're seeing all, like it's a
lot of like synchronicity in life. I don't know. It's like I'm living in a like my life is kind of like going in this weird like movie type, like it's like a simulation, dude.
I mean, it starts from your mind, man. That's how you're thinking. That's how you're navigating throughout the whole thing, and it just like it just manifests into the real world, man. And dude, I'm very proud of you, man. And
Thank you, bro.
I'm very honored to have you on, honestly, because it's
a pleasure.
It's a long time coming, man. And
yes, sir.
It's you're doing great things already, man. And that's the thing. Like, I know you're in that mode at all times, go, 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 and that's just the type of person you are. But I just want to tell you, if this means anything, like you're killing it on every regard, dude. And
thank you, brother.
You know, the pressure that you put on yourself, it's what got you to this point, but really enjoy it, man, because this is like something that people wish they would be able to do or have thought about it and just haven't made that extra step. But
I think about that. I'm just very grateful. Honestly, thank you for having me on. Yeah, listening back to the podcast and just like where we are now, both of us, I'm very proud of you as well, man. Like I've seen the transformation. I've seen the guests that you're having on and all the things that are now, and we're both in a different place. I don't take it for granted. Like creating is what I like to do best, just creating, whether it's clothes or whatever, art. And just to be able to do that over and over again, actually just one more time, is a blessing. So all I can say is just thank you, and just let's see where we take it, man.
I appreciate it, man. And I really do feed off of your grind and your journey too. You know, I see you, putting out collections and seeing all these big time celebrities and artists wearing your stuff, and it just motivates me, honestly, dude. That's even though we're in completely two different industries and fields, it gets me going. So
that's the best thing, man. Inspiring others. That's one thing like I always like to do. It gives me energy when people tell me, like when people saw me boxing, they're like, "Oh, come on, man! Like let's go." They didn't have an idea of what it was, but it inspired them. Or like when I post a run and they're like, "Yo, I went for a run after that because you were doing." That's the shit that I love. So
for sure, man.
Thank you, man. It means a lot to me.
No, thank you, dude. Thank you for coming on.
Of course.
This has been great, man. This is one of those episodes that I'm going to be listening to a lot, and
awesome.
I can't wait to have you on again, man, in the next the next 2-3 years, man.
We have to do it.
Yeah, we need to.
Yeah, it's like a timestamp every time.
No, seriously, man. And at that point, man, you're gonna be. I think you're gonna be unreachable. You're gonna be at the point where.
No, man, always calling here.
Yeah, you're always. Yeah, we always got that.
100%.
We always got that connection. So
100%.
I appreciate you, man.
Much
and
love, brother.
I mean, it speaks for itself, man. If you want to quickly plug anything, I mean, you don't need any introduction.
No, come on. Yeah, so Proper Dirty is the name of my brand. At Proper Dirty on Instagram, or properdirty.com is the website. Just follow the journey, follow the story that we talked about today. Go look at the feed and how I'd envisioned rolling this collection out. And with Lavish Hippie, there's a lot of cool stuff coming. So yeah, man, just follow along the journey. Hopefully we can keep pushing and going to places that we never even thought of going,
Absolutely.
That's it.
Happy to be a part of it, man. I really am.
Much love.
Enjoy your 24, episode 76. Ashkan, the founder and CEO of Proper Dirty, had him on the pod. Second time, he's been on the podcast, and doing great things as always, man, and can't wait to see where this goes, man. I really appreciate it. Enjoy 24, episode 76. Peace.